The friendly and resilient Spider-Man is one of the most popular superheroes in the Marvel Universe today. He has countless comics, films, and video games of various genres for various platforms. The best of the latter will be discussed further. Spider-Man: Shattered Dimensions, a game about Spider-Man released in 2010. It was developed by the Beanox Studio, which received the right to develop games in this universe from Treyarch. The game turned out to be rather unusual, because 4 different spiders from different dimensions come together in it at once. Together they gathered as a result of the formation of a dangerous rift, a kind of portal between the universes, which the heroes have to close up by joint efforts. Notably, one of the few later games in the franchise that lacks an open world. There is no variability of passing, however. It is more than compensated by the presence of 4 unique variations of the hero at once, each of which has its own unique appearance and superpowers. Spider-Man: Web of Shadows. Quite a dark part, offering an almost noir atmosphere. The main opponent of the spider here is Venom, who inhabits Peter Parker's friend Eddie Brock and drives him crazy. Reduces so much that he decides to infect all the population of New York with other symbionts and destroy the city itself under clean. As a result, the city was flooded with zombie-like creatures, among which were other famous Marvel superheroes, and in the very heart of the city a gloomy black dome was formed, the nest of all symbionts and their leader Venom. The task of Spider-Man is to eliminate the symbionts, destroy the dome, and finally get to the very culprit of all these disasters, the terrible Venom. Ultimate Spider-Man, a game that represents a kind of restart of the universes associated with Spider-Man. The restart also took place in comics and at the initiative of Marvel itself. It took place in the early 2000s, however. It did not affect the canonical series, which, in principle, was a fairly sensible and correct decision. In addition to an unexpected plot that mixed old and new characters in a single bizarre storyline, Ultimate Spider-Man also distinguished itself by using cel shading technology to create graphics, which made the game look like a comic book come to life. Spider-Man: The Movie. Another reboot of the playable Spider-Man, which took place a little earlier. It was time to coincide with the release of the first film of the franchise from Sam Raimi, in which Tobey Maguire played the main role. In fact, the game has become a complete interactive adaptation of the film, strictly following the events of its plot. The main character was also voiced by the talented Tobey Maguire. Linear gameplay for 4-5 hours, which can only be recommended to the most devoted Spider-Man fans. Spider-Man 2: The Game, a game dedicated to the release of the second part of the film. Like the movie, it was developed by the then-young Treyarch. But it is worth noting that here she made an amazing breakthrough. Instead of a linear and boring scenario based on the film, the players were expected, if not large, but still an open world that included as many as 4 city districts. They were of high quality and realistically made. It was interesting to explore them, using a new movement system, which made it possible to cling to the cobweb, not on an invisible heavenly ceiling, but, as expected, on the walls of skyscrapers. Spider-Man, the first serious game, which was the fruit of the collaboration of 2 media giants, Marvel and Activision. Back in 1998, they entered into an agreement on cooperation in the Spider-Man universe, and already in 2000 they released the first serious AAA project, which was released on all the top gaming platforms of that time, including PC. In fact, this is the first fully 3D Spider-Man game with good graphics and special effects for its time. Many then called it the best Spider-Man game, and this is no coincidence. The transition from 2D to full 3-dimensionality turned out to be too tangible and unthinkable, and the gameplay itself acquired many unexpected features. The hero could freely crawl along walls in all 4 directions, launch webs, and fight various opponents, including supervillain bosses. Spider-Man and Venom, an old platformer from 1994 dedicated to the confrontation between the Spider and Carnage. It is noteworthy that the allies of the Spider here are Venom, who is an independent playable character, and as a plot, one of the famous episodes that was present in the original comics was used. Then the game was released for the Super NES and Sega Mega Drive. and today you can play it on a PC, unless you use specialized emulators. Marvel's Spider-Man, the famous game of 2018, released exclusively for the PS4 game console. The game was developed by the American studio Insomniac Games under the close supervision of Sony Interactive Entertainment. The main character is Peter Parker, who has been in the form of a spider for 8 long years. He works in the laboratory of Otto Octavius, and in his spare time he fights evil and crime, and he does it very successfully. In 8 years of superheroism, he managed to defeat almost all serious villains. But suddenly mysterious types in demonic masks appear in the city. In addition, they possess supernatural abilities. They provoke a surge of crime and unrest in the city, and the hero has no choice but to put on his red and blue tights and mask and rush to battle with a new mysterious enemy. Spider-Man Miles Morales. The story continues the 2018 Spider-Man story and the City That Never Sleeps DLC, where Miles Morales was bitten by a mutated spider. Now, he has the same superpowers as Peter Parker. Miles wears his traditional black and red costume and fights criminals like Spider-Man. He cannot save the city as he is on vacation with Mary Jane Watson in the country of Syncaria. Parker tells Miles that he must be like his father, a police officer who died in a terrorist attack, in order to be a hero in New York. The Amazing Spider-Man, a 2012 superhero game dedicated to Spider-Man. The game received an open world, though not on all announced platforms, and very high-quality graphics. The plot of the game continues the events of the film The Amazing Spider-Man. In terms of gameplay, it is very different from all other 3D Spider-Man games. Firstly, the camera is too close to the back and shoulders of the main character, which at first seems very unusual and uncomfortable. But over time, you realize that this feature allows you to better feel the speed and maneuverability of the protagonist. Secondly, the hero has at his disposal a unique mobile computer with a large set of functions that allows him to receive and track new tasks, form a route of movement, and in general, it is better to navigate in a huge city. The Amazing Spider-Man 2, sequel released in 2014. It is a superhero action game with an open world, visually and in terms of gameplay not much different from the previous part. The story is based on the events of The Amazing Spider-Man, High Voltage, in which the main character was played by Briton Andrew Garfield. The game is available on multiple platforms, including PC. Spider-Man: Edge of Time. Action 2013 from Activision, dedicated to the famous hero of comics Marvel. Specifically, this game is not a continuation of anything, but invites players to plunge into a new independent story with the participation of Spider-Man. The main character is Miguel O'Hara, Spider-Man from the future, living in the 22nd century, but by coincidence found himself in the past. Here he meets his predecessor, Peter Parker, who turns out to be collaborating with the scientist Dr. Octavius, who later became a dangerous villain. The hero will have to fight dangerous enemies in reason, with Parker to stop cooperating with a potential bandit. Marvel Ultimate Alliance. Action RPG game based on Marvel Comics. This means that all the most significant superheroes of this publishing house are represented here, including the indestructible and fearless Spider-Man. All Marvel Ultimate Alliance characters are playable. Among them, players can form their squads of up to 4 superheroes, inclusive, and then fight with them against different villains. Each hero has additional costumes with special abilities. Costumes can be improved for a special game currency. In addition, by assembling a team of heroes, players receive various bonuses depending on the composition of the squad members. Spider-Man Unlimited, a mobile runner game released in 2014 for Android and iOS. The game is single-player, and its events unfold in a unique universe where the hero has many suits with unique abilities that he actively uses to overcome all sorts of obstacles. If your favorite game is not included in this list, write in the comments. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel, watch our other videos, press like. Turn on notifications, and you will always be aware of what to play today.